this problem is almost like a little puzzle. So you have to know a little bit about a balance sheet and the parts of a balance sheet in order to be able to solve the puzzle. Okay, so this area right here is your current assets, and then you have your long-term assets here. Your current assets plus your long-term assets give you your total assets. Over here you have your current liabilities plus your long-term debt give you your total liabilities. Your equity section is here. Your liabilities plus your equity give you your total liabilities and equity. Your total liabilities and equity must equal your total assets. So, in essence, remember your balance sheet equation. Total assets, my fingers aren't working here, equal total liabilities plus okay, so let's start out and let's see if we can work through this problem. So we know that these two can add up to give us, all three of these are going to add up to give us our total current assets. So in order to find out inventory, all we have to do is subtract from our total current assets to get our inventory here. Okay, so we're going to put in an equal sign here, and we're going to click on our total current assets and subtract both of these back out. Okay, so our 220 has to be the sum of all three of these. Okay, so that should make sense. And then our net plant and equipment here is going to be our gross plant and equipment minus depreciation. So we know that this 375 is 500 minus some number here. So we can figure that out by saying 500,000 minus the 375,000. Okay? And then we can get our total assets by adding together our total current assets and our total long-term assets. Now, this number and this number are going to have to equal each other, so I can go ahead and put in that this number is going to be the same. And now we can work backwards knowing what this number is. Okay, so we can add these two numbers together. Because the accounts payable and the notes payable have to give us a total current liabilities here. They've already told us what the total liabilities number is. So if we subtract out of our total current liabilities, that'll tell us what long-term debt is. So I'm going to put in an equal sign here. Take my total current or total liabilities and subtract out my current liabilities. And that gives me my long-term debt, because both of these have to add up to give me the total. Okay, now, since I know what the total liabilities and equity number is, and now I know what total liabilities is, I can find out what total stockholders' equity is by subtracting. So I'm going to take this number and subtract out my total liabilities number. Okay, so now I know what total stockholders' equity is. So now I've only got a couple of numbers left to figure out. I've got to figure out my paid-in capital, and I've got to figure out my common stock. Okay, so common stock, it tells us that it was $1 par, and there's 100,000 shares outstanding. So that means that that's 100,000 in common stock. 100,000 shares at $1 par is $100,000. So we've got 100,000 plus 150,000 gives us, and my total's got to be 405,000. So now I'm just going to subtract. So this is going to be equal to my 405 minus my 150 minus my 100,000. So my paid-in capital account is 155,000. So that's kind of how you would go about solving each piece of this using your adding and subtracting and just putting together the pieces, all based on this formula and the balance of the two sides of the balance sheet. And that's basically how you would solve for this problem.